Lately, something has been going on, and that is when I'm looking for new cases or power supplies and even graphics cards, I can't find anything for sale, at least at reasonable prices. And this is one thing, wherever you are in the world, you might be having a similar problem, whether you're buying a PC or you're selling one. So in today's video, we have an option for you, an effective option, AKA a meta. And that is, if you find an old case like this, which has no panels on it, but you might be lucky to still have the power switch on it, or your motherboard has a power switch on board, then you can do what is called an open air gaming PC. Now, the most interesting thing about this concept is that I've already put it to the test. I've already sold an open air gaming PC before the one I'm going to build up here today, and it worked extremely well. Since there's not a whole lot of gaming PCs out there, and the ones that usually are available at the moment compare nowhere near the value for money you were getting over 3 months ago, this here is an option worth considering, where of course you're going to find a case like this that's been thrown out and it's going to generally cost $0 versus buying a new case, which could cost $100 plus. And we're going to be saving money too because we're using used price performance. So let's quickly see what we've got here on the desk, apply some tech yes loving, and then see what we can come up with. Used, 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 used. New. That's right, the RGB cooler going on this whole build, which is going to actually be the centerpiece of this build, and we'll find out later, is the only new product in today's build. So I'll put the tally of how much this whole thing costs to put together, but what we've got right here is a system with 16 gigabytes of DDR3 memory. We've got an i7-3770 on a P65M Asus Pro. Now, I did have to update the BIOS on this motherboard, which was quick and easy since it generally won't support these 3770s, which are Ivy Bridge CPUs. And this one originally only supported Sandy Bridge, but when you update the BIOS, it will support the later 3rd gen chips. Now, this power supply here, completely overdone. HX 1000 watt. It's actually a really good power supply back in the day and still is a really good power supply to this date. We've also got a white exhaust fan, which is going to add a little bit of extra spice to the build. Then we've got a GTX 970. Now, I picked this up recently for 150 Aussie dollars. And even though it's a bit above asking price of what I'm used to getting them for, it still is, in these weird times, still a decent buy. And then of course, we've got a 1 terabyte hard drive, since the prices and availability of 120 gigabyte SSDs at the moment have gone through the roof. We're just gonna skip the SSD altogether. Now, the i7-3770, you may be wondering, is this thing gonna be good enough? It's actually gonna pair very well with the GTX 970, at least from what I think. Though this here is going to be the star of the show. I picked this up for 15 Aussie dollars, but you can probably see right here that this case still has a lot of dirt and grime in it. So there's only one thing we can do from here in with this case, and that is give it some tech yes loving. And that is when we clean this thing from tip to toe and bring it up looking better than brand new. So we've just finished cleaning up the open air case, and there was one thing I've never seen before when cleaning PCs, and that's like the ability to make charcoal. So this has it, this can do it, guys. And now here is the final product. This is the open air gaming PC. And straight away, like my voice, the noise, this thing has actually got some really low noise components in it. I was surprised because those CPU coolers can get a little bit noisy, but this one seems to be doing just fine. Now, speaking of that CPU cooler, when we installed it just here, we did have a little problem with the clip. And you can even see this just now. The left-hand RAM stick is still ever so slightly bent right. So to install this, we had to take that RAM stick out, put the cooler on, and then put the RAM stick back in. Should I say, ram it in. And then at the front here, we're actually using a reset switch because that's the only switch on board, and the motherboard doesn't have any onboard power reset switches itself. Now, in the past, I have used the reset switch instead of the power switch because it's been faulty, and so it's perfectly fine to do this. And of course, the power switch is the most important switch, other than any motherboard connectors that you will need to get your system working. Though besides that, cable management was a breeze, mainly because this is a semi-modular power supply, so we just removed all the clutter. And of course, since we didn't have any panels in the way, and it is a pretty spacious case, putting this thing together was super easy. Another thing is too, most of these big like 1000-watt power supplies won't fit in standard ATX cases. Though in this particular case right here, it was absolutely fine, mainly because it's open air gaming. But speaking of open air gaming, we're just installing Windows now, then we're gonna start running some benchmarks and see what we can get out of this whole setup. And we finished up now tuning this PC, testing it and benchmarking it, and I am thoroughly impressed with what we've got here on the table. I was surprised actually also by this $15 cooler, which gave us temperatures while we're gaming in Warzone under 70 degrees most of the time. And same with the GPU, that went under 70 degrees most of the time, and we did overclock that just a little bit. Now, in Warzone itself, we got around about 100 average FPS, and the 1% and 0.1% lows were phenomenal. This was a really smooth experience. Keep in mind, we did set it at medium settings because I think if you go with high settings with 4 GB of VRAM in this game, you might come into some troubles, especially with stuttering and whatnot. But for what it's worth, the picture looked really good at 1080p. Then you may have noticed with the B-roll, we did test out the original Doom, but there is a whole massive modding community behind it. And it was actually funny because someone who came and picked up a PC off us wanted to run this test with everything maxed out to see if it would run smoothly. And so I learned how to use that game and stress test it, where we were getting only 110 FPS on a game that old. To get 110 FPS is not that impressive in 2020. So essentially what we did with this game was we doubled the resolution scale, maxed all these settings, and the GPU was getting quite stressed. And we could even run the OG Doom in Vulkan, which was surprising. So that's a really cool test. If you guys want me to maybe look at ray tracing with the OG Doom, that would be another cool video in itself. Though here's the scary thing about this PC right here. I've already sold this. Someone's already coming to pick it up later tonight where I'm at. So that's just how much demand there is for a gaming PC right now. And what this solution can give you is another possibility, another way to not overpay for a gaming PC right now. If you're in the market to get something that can play games smoothly and you can pick up all the used parts, you may wish to just consider going with an open air case. As we saw here, the temperatures are absolutely fine. The noise will also be absolutely fine considering you get a power supply, graphics card, CPU cooler, and also exhaust fan that don't really make a whole lot of noise to begin with. So that's always one of the most important things with building a gaming PC. Make sure your components are good from the get-go. So ultimately, something like this is definitely an option to consider where you care about price performance. And the funny thing is, I picked up pretty much all these components recently during these weird conditions. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Just go look for some good deals. And also, if you are willing to compromise on, in my opinion, some of the things that don't matter a whole lot, then you can get even better price performance. Now, of course, there are some negatives to an open air case. That is, just by looking at it, you've got no panels. So if you've got animals or you've got things or something that can drop stuff in the case or spill liquids or anything like that, then you definitely may wish to get some side panels for your open air gaming test bed. But still, the fact that we've got a case that was otherwise would have got chucked in the bin and we've reutilized that and made something out of it really just brings me back to the old Tech Yes City. And that is what it's all about here at Tech Yes City, just getting that raw price performance for the dollar. I even did a build a few months ago, if you're in a remote area of the world, where we just built a PC on a box. And that worked out extremely well too. I'll put the link to that video up there. But if you guys enjoyed this video, then be sure to hit that like button and also let us know in the comment section below what you think of an open air gaming PC. Do you think it's a new meta or don't you like it? Love reading your thoughts and opinions as always, just like this question of the day here, which comes from Jaycon Deluxe, and they ask which lipstick brand works best as thermal paste. And they're ultimately referring to the video that we did previously where I kind of just, I don't know what happened with the color correction there. My monitor is flat. So essentially I edit with a flat monitor, but I watched it on my friend's smartphone and yeah, it did look like I had some lipstick on, and that's just what happens with YouTube sometimes. But in terms of what brand works best, I don't know. I think maybe Maybelline would work well, but I'll put it to the test for you guys. And with that aside, if you're enjoying this content and you stayed this far and you want to see it the moment it drops, then be sure to hit that sub button, ring that bell, and I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.